And we are live to our 6 viewers. I'm going to go start the match. We have Brian Kinsman in seat 1 on Jund Dreadnought against Gray Elvesman. I don't think that's his last name. I'm going to be honest. I think someone has bamboozled me.
We got some other funny names that came up today. For our folks that just joined us is Mike Hadley joining Tony Murata here. Tony, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. So I won't be able to stay all day, but I appreciate having the chance to be here. Tony and I are former champs, so it's kind of cool to sit from the sidelines and be able to spectate some legacy today. So for those unfamiliar, this is the Legacy Masters, I'll say the culminating event for our AZ Eternal Magic Legacy event, and you're tuning in live to round 1. So we've got Brian Kinsman against Gray. Tony, why don't you read off what the hell Brian is playing?
So he's on this deck called Jund Dreadnought. I've never seen like a list like this before, but he's running Phyrexian Dreadnought. Looks like...
Question though, what is a Phyrexian Dreadnought? I don't think any of our 6 viewers probably know that.
Let's see, is that the 12-12 for 1? And you gotta like stifle it or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It is a 12-12 for 1. So you have to sacrifice 12 power worth of creatures when it enters the battlefield, or it immediately dies.
Yeah.
He's
running 4 copies of Scroll of Fate. I don't know what that card is exactly.
I don't even know what that card
is. Okay,
does.
so Scroll of Fate, I can help you guys out at badmagicplayers.com. Scroll of Fate is a 3-mana artifact. You can tap it to manifest a card from your hand. Manifest is put a card into play face down as a 2/2, and if it's a creature, you can turn it face up for its mana cost.
Oh, so that's what he's trying to get creative. I've seen the Dreadnought with the stifle before, but now we reaching deep on that one. So I think we'll see more from Brian. We've started the round. You can see Gray on L's. Pretty traditional list, nothing too fancy. Started with a turn 1. I think it's at a Wirewood Symbiote.
Wirewood Symbiote.
Yep. And I think we're finally getting to see whatever the hell Brian is doing.
Brian got the good start. The Mox Diamond, pretty much. The deck is gonna live and die on Mox Diamonds, especially for this when he's on the draw.
And how good is Renesix against Elves right now, especially getting that out? It's not only being able to buy back land, but to start chipping away at those 1/1s. We've seen that happen already. I even think I see a Punishing Fire hiding out in Brian's hand. So feels like he's going to be able to control the board pretty good until he can get this Dreadnought on the battlefield.
I mean, Gray's played through stuff like this before. I mean, he has the Cradle in play ready to go. That'll help him with double Cradle plays. He definitely has the Glimpse in his hand already.
Yeah.
Here's the 3 mana. Who knows what it's going to be?
Ooh.
A Lily.
You know what we call that? What Gray just did? Raisin Bran. 2 scoops. Just take it right to game 2. So
right to game.
Right to game.
I don't think
he's seen enough. But you know something, so let me get your opinion, Tony and Anthony. So you've seen him scoop it up, but in an event like this, is it fair for him to maybe not scoop it up to get a little bit more idea of what Brian's playing, or something like that? Are you likely to do the same thing, just pick it up unless you go to game 2?
I mean, I honestly think that an event like this, it's especially knowing Kinsman's deck list. Kinsman's deck list does not really have a win condition in it besides 2/2s and maybe a small chance of 12/12s.
Yeah.
But after that, which he has no idea about a 12/12 possibility, which could come out on turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be played on turn 2, swing on turn 3. But he had a great start for beating Ren Liliana. He had the Wasteland wasn't there yet, so he didn't have a Wasteland lock off of anything like that. All of Kinsman's removal was sorcery speed. That Gray saw, like, he didn't see the Punishing Fire. He didn't see anything that Kinsman's doing.
Yeah. I think in that spot right there, I think
deck lists are not available at this time.
He kind of like had the game already locked, but like by those Planeswalkers already. So I don't know how much more information he would have gotten in that spot. But
yeah, that's fair. I maybe in a situation like that where I'm seeing a deck I'm not familiar with, maybe he's familiar with it, I would have waited at least a couple more turns to get a little more information.
I don't think he thinks he's seeing something different like that. Brian didn't have to play any more cards.
That's fair.
And Gray could decide, if you see the Liliana, you're probably... I mean, he didn't even see green. Like, he saw the Mox, or he saw the Ren and 6, but that could have gone any number of ways. I think Gray should have
Yeah.
played it out to the point where, I mean, he is snap bringing in the Progenitus.
For sure. Yeah, speaking of, let's look at the sideboard. So I'm looking here at Gray's sideboard. He's got a Gaddock Teed, a Progenitus, an Elder Scale Worm, 3 Leyline of the Void, 2 Abrupt Decay, 2 Trophies, 2 Mind Break Trap, and 3 Thoughtseize. What has Brian got coming in from his sideboard?
So Brian Kinsman's running 4 Leyline of the Void, 3 Ensnaring Bridge, 2 Sorcerer's Spyglass, 2 Liliana's Triumph, 2 Caracas, 1 Assassin's Trophy, and 1 Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
So
Brian's deck is basically main deck or bust. Like,
Yeah.
he might bring in some sack effects for the Progenitus, but his
That's
deck
really it.
isn't really going to get much better or worse against elves.
Yeah.
His main deck already looks super
Pretty
strong
solid.
against elves.
There's an argument potentially for an Ensnaring Bridge or 2, knowing that Gray's probably going to try to go wide and kill him with a Crater Hoof, and he can get that down and get some cards out of his hand. That might help. But to your point, I think he's well suited main board. Gray, on the other hand, I think there's an argument based on what he just saw. I wouldn't be surprised if he brought in the Assassin's Trophies. The Progenitus seems decent. Maybe some Abrupt Decays. I don't know about Thoughtseize. Maybe not. But it feels like being able to deal with Planeswalkers.
He's on the draw, and as someone that strictly plays these non-blue mashups, which is silly because this Jund Dreadnought deck actually does have blue in it. I think we all
just has everything.
We haven't talked about the Leovold that's sitting in that's sitting in the deck list.
Brian just sleeved up 75 cards he had. Like, what are my favorite 75 legacy
Honestly,
cards?
I will be 100% honest here. Brian messaged me about 3 days ago, and we built this deck together. So
Oh, wow.
It is pure. It's what he wanted to play. I helped him in any way that I possibly could, and I told him all he has to do is not play Storm or 2020s, and he's probably okay. Like,
Yeah.
Brian is usual. He's used to playing like blue-white control
Yeah.
lists and miracles. So this is very
I
surprising.
was very much suspecting to see some variant of blue-white coming from Brian.
I mean, in overall, this could specifically be showing, the current state of the meta.
I agree.
No one here in the casting booth plays blue
No,
or white.
no.
But how do you guys feel about the overall state of those blue-white control decks right now?
That's tricky. I think there's so many decks relying on all parts of the game, meaning graveyard, board state, planeswalker. So from a control, typical blue-white staple control is hard to just have control of everything somebody's doing. I think about stuff like Black-Red Reanimator, being able to turn 0, play something, and you can't even swords or counter it. Not that the blue-white decks aren't good, but you've got some strategies now that are leveraging so many aspects of the game. I could see why in today's meta you aren't just leaning heavily on your stock bread and butter blue-white cards.
So in the stock blue-white cards, and I've had plenty of discussions with this, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I haven't played a whole lot lately, is that the white cards that have traditionally, put that blue-white archetype ahead, the Terminus was groundbreaking when Terminus was printed, and it's even pushed Miracles past the banning of top. With the uptick of these super playable low-cost planeswalkers.
Yes.
White has absolutely no answer that makes sense. Because even Council's Judgment, you're taking card disadvantage right off the top. He plays his Ren and 6, it activates. That's a game-ending threat against the blue-white decks. And if you're gonna untap cast Council's Judgment, you're already behind in the card advantage war.
So true.
And it's the same thing with the other white pillar of the format that's gotten absolutely shellacked recently, which is Death and Taxes.
Yes.
Which I think the death of Death and Taxes
It's bad for Legacy.
Is really bad for Legacy. Death and Taxes was one of the main pillars holding everything together.
It kept things in check, right?
For no reason.
Yeah.
Like a white deck that was just able to play 3 or 4 Caracas, was able to slam a Thalia on turn 2 every game, and then beat you in the long game. Like, it
was fun police. It was needed.
It was the fun police, but it
Yeah.
was definitely a needed deck. Without it, you're getting,
So Tony, you play 12 post. I feel like when you see somebody sitting across from you playing blue-white, it has to feel like a buy.
Oh yeah, I start salivating when I see them play a Tundra.
You go, Tony, we can keep playing, or you could just watch what I'm about to do.
I think all 3 of us feel that way, right?
Oh, yeah.
Goblins really likes to sit across from
Yes,
blue-white.
yes.
Lands loves it,
Oh, my
especially with
goodness.
the new printing of Field of the Dead.
Yes.
Like, they just have no answer for recurring 2/2s. But the white removal at this point just isn't
Isn't
good
as strong.
enough. And the problem is that what card would have to be printed to make it good enough? Like, it would have to be 1 in a white Vindicate instant speed.
Something.
White Vindicate. You know, it's.
I was curious. I don't know if we'll see any today, but with the new, forget the name of it. It's the Sanctuary, the blue common
Mystic
Sanctuary. I was expecting to see some. I felt not that that's powerful, but being able to fetch for that, put your Terminus, your Verdict on top, your sword, stuff like that. I thought that might help a little bit, but I guess that by itself ain't from the decks we'll see today. Probably wasn't enough for anybody to decide to come sleeve up just some blue-white cards.
I know Kinsman's been playing that, and it really helps on the card advantage front. You know, putting a Terminus back on top when you need to, putting a Swords back on top when you're ahead, putting an Accumulated Knowledge back on top when you want to get ahead. It's good, but it's still very late gamey.
Yep. It's dependent on being able at a place where you can do that later in the game, where with most of the decks, that's just not happening.
Yeah.
So looks like both of our players get the 7s open. I do see Kinsman has a Ren and 6 in hand. I didn't get a good look at Gray's hand, but I see a couple of cards. I think that was a Quirion Ranger. Looks like they're gonna keep. Yeah, I also see I think that's a Sylvan Library. Okay, so Gray's starting off with a Green Sun. That seems good. We're probably gonna go get
Dryad Arbor.
Yeah, and be really good if that Dryad Arbor can also maybe cast a 1-drop. I think that's really what Gray's trying to do, is power out a threat early. Oh, no 1-drop, which isn't the worst, but I think being able to put out another 1-drop and then turn 2 really get a couple things out to maybe combo off by turn 3 is where he'd like to be ideally. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully Brian doesn't have the turn 1 Ren and 6 here with the Badlands, and if he plays a Mox Diamond, that would smell trouble for Gray. We'll see what happens.
So one of the problems with these Jund Mox Diamond style decks is that if you don't have the Mox Diamond, the deck is significantly worse.
Yeah.
And you could easily see Gray just absolutely snowball this out of control from turn 2.
Yeah.
I mean, if he gets to untap, obviously Brian Kinsman living the dream here.
Wow, he has it. And I think we're about to see Ren and 6.
Here comes the Ren.
And getting rid of Dryad Arbor. That is a huge time walk. It not only made him discard a card by way of shuffling away Green Sun, but it was also able to Wasteland. So you got a Wasteland and a discard and still got Planeswalker on board. Yeah, I think Gray's going to have to start pushing. This seems right to me, to start to get a couple threats. And I'm not sure.
New question. Is that Dwyer's Elite? Is that?
That might be.
I think it's a Finhorn Elves.
That could be a Finhorn
Oh, it's a
Elf?
Finhorn Elves?
Yeah,
okay.
it's like some promotional version.
I mean, is an Ice Age version is the one I'm used to seeing. I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah.
Superheroes at home, we have Anthony Hare 2-0 over Gary Wong as a round 1 result.
Ooh,
I believe it was a Bomberman mirror match.
Right, that's right. The teacher versus the student.
Was it a Bomberman mirror match?
It was
It was, yeah.
It was a double bomber match. So let's see here. Kinsman's played a Badlands. I think he's thinking through his lines. I've seen Punishing Fire, Abrupt Decay. I call it an embarrassment of riches right now, looking at what he's got. When you got a Ren and 6 out.
He has the mana for anything in his hand.
Yep.
Like, he's there.
He's there.
This matchup looks so difficult for Gray. Just getting past these Planeswalkers, these continuous sources of dealing with these small creatures.
I think Kinsman's debating on whether or not he is going to Punishing Fire, Abrupt Decay, the Finhorn Elves here, which I'm personally a fan of killing it now and not letting him get in value. That seems right. You still got a Ren and 6. Fine, you might not be able to buy back the Punishing Fire just yet, but it's okay. You just don't want him to start amassing creatures on the board and taking over a game out of nowhere.
And just like game 1, Gray really just needs to make land drops, calm down, make land drops, and then almost emulate a Storm deck where he's going to resolve as much as he possibly can.
Agree.
I mean, at the end of the day, very little of what Brian's doing is instant speed to be able to interact with you. Like, everything he's doing is slow, plodding.
Yep.
He has no real win condition on the board yet.
If Gray can just pull off like one natural order, I mean, Brian has 2 Liliana of the Veils and 1 Liliana's Triumph, but I mean, he has a lot less ways to deal with like one single big creature than he does with like a critical mass of small ones. So I think like that could maybe pull Gray out of this. And
oh man,
here's 2. There's the Biblioteca.
Bad to worse. just as Brian's running out of answers, there it is, the library, to look at 3 more good ones. And I've seen a Wasteland and another Punishing Fire. I wouldn't be surprised here if we saw Wasteland. He puts that in hand to take care of the Cradle and buys it back. Oh, he's going to take 4 life. Perhaps he's getting back the Punishing Fire just to have some extra protection. But yeah, I think what we'll see here is Wasteland take care of the Cradle.
There it is.
That was tough for Greg. Yeah.
Kinsman drew exactly what he needed to.
For sure.
I've had plenty of losses as the Judge deck against elves. But those Mock Diamond into Ren and 6 hands are just so...
Nothing you can do. Yeah,
so hard.
As a Goblins player, seeing a turn 1 Ren, it hurts because it eliminates a lot of what you're trying to do when you're trying to play creatures and go wide. You can't. And if it's not even killing your creatures, it's giving them a card every turn. But getting fetch lands back every single turn is hard to get from up underneath that.
I mean, it completely, almost as it ruins Goblins' mana advantage. You know, they're trying to wasteland and port and try to generate a mana advantage through either Vial or Lackey. Yeah. That's obviously strategy 1, but you have a Ren and 6 there that just kind of invalidates both options. Like, it stops the mana denial, it also stops the Goblin Lackey.
It's a killer against 12 hosts too, just being able to recur Wastelands for 2 mana.
Yeah, very much so. Well, that was round 1. That was fast.
Let me see if any other match is still going. I think we're gonna have a very quick matchup overall. If you guys want to run through any deck lists,
why don't we do that? So
with the squad.
Yeah, why don't we do that? So I'm gonna randomly grab a couple. We'll randomly grab a deck list and let you know what people are playing. Michael Day. So for those who don't know Michael Day, he's typically on Black Red Reanimator, but today, and if I can read his handwriting, this is Tony. Help me with this. It's like a mono blue. I'm seeing 4 Narset. I'm seeing Urza, Karn,
Echo of Eons.
Yeah,
it's like a weird mono blue Chalice of the Void Urza deck.
It's almost like the modern Urza deck a bit, because I see he's got 1 Oko, he's got Force of Will. He's got it's just like a mono blue Urza deck that might be interesting. So we'll see how that goes and see what happened around with Michael. What do you got, Tony?
Matthew Hackford is running a green-black Nickfoot list. His match might be going on. It's being a more grindier deck. I wouldn't mind seeing that. It's not something you see all that often.
Yeah. We've also got Anthony Hare, who was just playing against Gary Wong in the Bomberman matchup. Pretty stock list, some ballistas, Monastery Mentor, some chalices, LEDs, so bread and butter Bomberman matchup. I'd like to talk to Gary and to Tony to find out what happened there, because it was a 2-0. So more to come from that one, I'm sure. What else you got, Tony?
So you got Ant by David Zakowski. That's no surprise.
Yeah. Ooh, So I shouldn't say actually, but read a deck list and we just got another match result. So Kevin McCoy, no surprise, is what he won with last year. Ironically, so Kevin got into the Masters last year because I think the 16th person couldn't make it or something like that. So he got pulled up and ironically ended up taking it down with Red Black Reanimator. And today on Red Black Reanimator, I'm not seeing anything.
So at this point, we have a update. Local superhero Jim Dudek was victorious.
Yeah, against our friend Jesse, a.k.a. Trap Goose. And we're actually going to hear more from Jesse. Jim playing, no surprise, playing Delverless. It's pretty much his go-to. Jesse, not afraid of trying different decks. Actually, Tony, you got Jesse's deck list you want to share? See what we can find and share a little bit about what he's doing. We looked at it earlier. It's almost like a mono red, but
red white. It is.
It was weird.
Spicy.
It was interesting.
Tony, you have a specific question directly to you from chat.
Yeah.
How do you like the current version of CG Post? And are you currently playing Once Upon a Time?
Ooh.
What is CG Post?
CG post is just like a term for colorless green 12 post, which basically is like mostly mono green, but not green enough to be considered like a fully green deck per se. So I enjoy the deck a lot. Obviously, it hasn't done super well for me not making this tournament recently, but yeah, it's still my current version of 12 post I've been playing right now. And Once Upon a Time, I haven't yet tried it, but I'm definitely looking forward to giving that a shot. Not sure how the build would revolve around that card specifically, but I'm very interested in trying it out. So no, I haven't ran it yet.
So here's a fun fact. I'm going into the archives with this one. So while Tony's known for playing post decks, if you're a real Tony Murata fan or aficionado, you remember Tony was like the OG on why don't you tell them what you used to play before 12 post, Tony?
I used to play Reanimator
That's
way
right.
back in the days.
The blue-black version, or actually no, and red-black. I think you were the first person I'd ever seen on, because blue-black was popular, but then you were, I think, a pioneer on the red-black strategy. Did you see that somewhere, or did just something happen? You were like, I think these cards look good, I'm gonna try it.
I definitely saw it somewhere.
Okay.
I can't take credit for creating that at all. But I love the Reanimator strategy. It's always just felt broken to me.
Yes.
I am trying to wrestle up to game 3, but it's
Okay.
I'm working on it.
And here's Jesse James Adams.
Oh yeah, so yeah. Tell us. So Jesse, who just lost to Jim Dudek, is playing. Tony, tell us what Jesse's playing.
His deck name, it says Red White Moonblade, and it's running 4. It's kind of like a mono red Stompy deck version. The creatures are 4 Bone Crusher Giant, 4 Magus of the Moon, 4 Simian Spirit Guide, 4 Goblin Rabblemaster, and 4 Stoneforge Mystic, which seems to be the purpose of the white. He's running a Jite and a Batterskull, a sword, a Fire and Ice, and an Embercleave. I believe that's an equipment.
Yeah.
To search up with the Stoneforge. And then your Blood Moons, Chalice of the Void, Chrome Mox.
Guys, exciting stuff going on. We have game 3. Kevin McCoy,
Ooh.
Matthew Hackbert.
This
Ooh,
should be
this will
good.
be
Did you guys find the deck list? 'Cause
Yeah.
I do not know what they are.
I got Hackbert's deck list in front of me. Let's see if I can find. I probably don't even need to find McCoy's deck list because we know what he's playing, but we've got it here. So it's Red Black Reanimator. That's what McCoy will be running, and Matthew is on Nick Fit. So I think somebody in the stream was asking if we could see some Nick Fit. Well, Christmas just came early because we're going to be able to tune in to Game 3. So why don't we look at the sideboards, because if they're already going to Game 3, I'll start with Hackberth. So he's got a Plague Engineer, Crop Rotation, 3 Veil of Summer, an Abrupt Decay, a Collector Oof. I'm not familiar with that one. 2 Hymnoturok, a Toxic Deluge, 4 Leyline of the Void, and an Eternal Witness. What does Kevin's sideboard look like?
Kevin, he's running the Green Splash in the Black Red Reanimator, so he has 4 Reverent Silence, 2 Assassin's Trophy, and 2 Xantid Swarm to make use of the green, a Magus of the Moon, a Coffin Purge, Shenanigans, 1 Red Elemental Brass, 1 Thoughtseize, 1 Archetype of Endurance, and 1 Iona.
Ooh. So green, I didn't realize. Is that normal that the red-black decks play Xanax Swarm out of the sideboard?
I haven't seen Xantid Swarm recently.
Okay.
But I know they usually either splash green or white
Okay.
for some like enchantment hate.
So Tony, from a red-black standpoint, knowing Hackberth's playing Nick Fit, what do you think Kevin's bringing in out of the sideboard?
He doesn't need the Magus of the Moon. I don't know we don't know what he saw the first 2 games.
Yeah.
So I don't think he would really want to bring in much. I think he would probably just want to focus on like coming off as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't even.
Because
I don't even know.
this is
I
a
thought
matchup
they
where he
were
wouldn't
worried.
need
I thought they
to worry
fired
about
us.
counter spells or anything like that.
Yeah. Makes sense. So I'm looking at.
Yeah, it's been like a month.
I'm looking at Hackberth's sideboard, and he's got Crop Rotation, 3 Veil, and Abrupt Decay. I don't think he wants to bring in him. I don't think he wants
If you don't
Toxic
wanna deliver it, don't
Deluge.
deliver it.
I don't know if he
That.
wants Eternal Witness. Maybe Crop Rotation, because he can
Yeah,
go
they
get
know
the
what's going on.
Bajuka Bog, can go get a Caracas.
They
That
can-
seems right. I don't know if he needs Abrupt Decay. Leyline, I'm not sure if he needs that.
I think you should definitely bring Leyline.
You
to
bringing
the board.
Leyline in? Why? So I'm thinking, why? Is this the white ley line or the black one?
That's the black one.
Oh, so yeah, I'm sorry, I was getting them confused. Yeah, ley line of the void. Yeah, bringing all those in immediately.
I mean, if game 2, if Kevin saw Matt's ley line of the void, then looking at this a second time, Kevin should definitely bring in the Reverend Silence, because that's usually there for the ley lines of the void specifically.
Gotcha.
Also the Assassin's Trophy to take care of that.
Yeah. So there's a question in the stream. Yeah, said, I guess for me, question was, what version of Goblins am I playing in Legacy right now? Pros and cons over mono red versus red black. I am playing a light black splash in Goblins. I'm actually going to be going, Tony and I are both going to Europe next week to play in a Legacy PTQ and in the GP. And I plan on splashing the black munitions expert, Sling Gang. But also, I think I'm going to, and we'll see it maybe later from Dan Ford. We talked about this build together, putting in like a main board Blood Moon, Caracas, and Surgical, just to be able to help fight against decks like Kevin McCoy's and Dark Death. So both players mulled, I believe, so looking at keeping a 6. McCoy's mulling it over. Is it me, or does it always feel like Reanimator always has it on turn 1? Or is that just against me?
No, I think that too. They always have it.
Yeah, always.
I feel like it's Reanimator or Dredge.
Always.
Just
Always.
100% of the time.
Always.
As a crop rotation deck, I feel like I've never been able to have crop rotation up.
Ever. And it's funny, I watch Red Black Reanimator play somebody else, and it's like turn 2 or 3 that they don't put a threat down. But then against me, it's like turn 1.
Turn 0, turn 1.
0. They always have Chancellor into Mox and Lotus Petal into,
I thought McCoy's hand looked pretty good.
I was surprised too.
Not, yeah.
And I seen Hackbart had a Caracas in hand, which is, I feel like, what you would really want to see against this deck. But sending his back too, so I can't question. I'm sure
Kevin had the boar. Kevin had the boar in his hand.
Okay.
That was his threat.
It looks like he had a turn 1 Gristlebrand if he wanted. He had the Unmask to unmask himself, a black card to remove to it.
I wonder what.
Did you see the Gristlebrand?
Yeah, he had a Gristlebrand, an Entomb, a Reanimate, an Unmask. So we could have pitched the Entomb to the Unmask, unmasked himself for Gristlebrand and Reanimate.
I'll be curious after this game, just because I'm not familiar, to find out what both players was going through their minds. On Kevin's side, to be able to get down a turn 1 Gristlebrand is probably where he wants to be. And Hackbart having the Caracas is where he would want to be. So it's like they both had the tools to fight, but didn't feel good enough.
Reanimator, Petal, Reanimate.
Exhume.
Do you see a threat or an Entomb? He had
there's
the double
an
maul.
Entomb.
He had the double maul.
Yeah, he has the turn 1 opener.
He has the turn 1 no protection though.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it was. Does he play Grave Titan by chance? Maybe he was looking for something like that, knowing Hackbart plays
Sack
effects or Caracas, so maybe he was looking at something like that. I don't know if he plays Siren Sanity.
No, he's not running any Grave Titan. He's running his 2 main deck. Typically Black Red Reanimator, they run the 4 Gristlebrand, 4 Chancellor of the Annex, which Kevin is running, of course. Yeah. And his main deck creatures are Ashen Rider and Elishnorn, a single copy of each of those. Yeah. And then in the sideboard, he's running an Iona, an Archetype of Endurance, and a Magus of the Moon.
Okay.
So, I mean, what's better than the Gristlebrand? Iona on black, maybe? Probably unkillable.
Yeah, you typically go for Gristlebrand.
So maybe he played this matchup enough to say, you know what? Turn 1 Iona on black is the way for me to win this game comfortably.
Or he just won a turn 1 period, because I don't think his last hand was turn 1. I believe it was turn 2.
That's fair.
And that Black Red Reanimator deck, being a fast combo deck, it makes such a good use of the new Mulligan rule, the London Mulligan.
I feel like that's really helped that deck do more of what it wants to do.
Deck lists aren't public, bro.
Okay, I thought you wanted results though.
Yeah, do you have a slip?
Looks like Matt's finally decided to keep his 4.
All right, he's keeping a 4. All right, let's see what he decides to keep. I see a Pernicious Deed. Hate that card. I wish they would print a red enchantment removal card. They're not wear tear.
Yep.
So McCoy starts off turn 1 Badlands into Petal, is what is expected.
We have a Daniel Ford over David Sikowski.
Ooh, listen, I not that I'm playing favorites, but I want to hear Dan Ford's name winning a whole lot today.
So Hadley, this is a question for you, but Ant, how is that matchup? I think it's pretty bad for goblins, right?
So it is, but however, what's made that matchup a little bit more favorable, in fact, I don't get as afraid playing it anymore because you got Sling Gang to gain life. You've got Crater Maker to blow up stuff. Yep, as expected. Sorry,
Here's
so Kevin's got the...
Big Poppy himself.
Yep, so Kevin's got the Gristlebrand. I think we're going to just draw 7 right now. But to your point, Tony, I think, and we'll talk to Dan, we've got more tools now to be able to interact in the early game in Game 1. Still Wasteland, of course. So being able to pick up a few more games than used to be in Game 1. So Kevin's drawn 7. Looks like he's got another Entomb, an Exhume.
I mean, things like this really separate the, you don't want to say like the tier 1 from the tier 2, but being able to deal with something like this Reanimator deck, Hackbert is playing the 4 Leyline of the Void.
Yeah.
Just wasn't able to get there.
that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Hackbart was looking for. Was probably thinking, even though he had the Caracas in his opener on that 7 or 6, that maybe I don't want to see Gristlebrand and let him draw 7, and Leyline is just game over.
How low do you go for this Leyline? I mean, he obviously didn't go 2. He can go that low.
Yeah, in my mind, if you're mulling to a card down to 4, I would be inclined to be like, if you get to keep looking at 7,
just keep going.
keep
Going
going.
to 3,
Keep going. Like if you're looking for 7, if this 4 can't beat a Gristlebrand early, then if that 4
Decklister out.
can't beat a turn 1 Gristlebrand because you know what he's doing, then you just got to keep going.
Because Matt's hate otherwise just seems like so limited outside of the ley line.
I mean, he's still just dead. If that's his turn 1, he's actually
dead.
just dead.
I'm not sure. I don't play the deck enough, but Thoughtseize against Reanimator doesn't seem like that's where you want to be, because by the time you're taking something, especially on the draw,
It's too slow.
Because by the time you're taking something, they've already done what they've gotten what they needed to out of their hand. So more match results coming in. The homie Tash just came over and handed us a match slip. He 2-0'd Mr. Let's see. So Tash is 2-0 Espinoza. Tash is, I'm assuming, playing Ant. I seen his deck list a little earlier.
Tash has beaten the Dark Depths superhero.
Mr. Depths.
So looking at all these lists, I am going to say, Kinsman needed to play that blue-white. There's nothing here to punish him.
Nothing, yeah. And he probably, but you know what? And when we looked at, I was looking at Jesse's list, I think a lot of people were probably metting for what they expected others to see. Because even when Dan built his Goblins list, we put the main board Blood Moon and Caracas and Surgical to be able to keep up, seeing what Jesse was playing. So perhaps Brian was thinking, hey, this feels right, but you're right. I think blue-white today, unless he was running into McCoy, but even maybe still being able to go with that.
It's Surgical, Force of Will,
Yeah.
Swords, Rest in Peace.
Yeah, this looks about over.
Yeah.
Just attack with the Gristlebrand.
Draw 7 more.
Draw 7 more.
He has the Reverent Silence in his hand. He has a lot of everything.
I think he has everything. At this point, I think
Might not even be attack for 7. It might not even draw more. Might just keep going.
yeah. I think McCoy might just try to close it out here because I seen. Yep, here we go.
There's the Archetype of Endurance.
Yep,
There's
and
the
that's
answer.
it. That's it. Well,
Wow, there's-
So Kevin McCoy wins the 3rd game against Matthew Hackbert.
yeah. Well, that was
Deck lists are out.
well.
I think I've kicked at least 13 out of the 16
You know what's
players.
funny is you kicked Sikowski out, and I think some of even his equipment. You can't be by your stuff. Leave.
You can't be by your stuff. It's not my rules. I just follow them.
Well, that was.
So we have the McCoy over Hackbert.
Yeah, I am really curious, and I want to talk to Hackbert after this to find out just what was his reasoning for shipping back his
Switch code thing.
7.
We needed this to set up the MTG bot. I think they just minimized it. I will tell Hacker once they're done.
Whoever-
Is he done?
Yeah.
Are they done?
Hackbert is
I'll
done.
go grab him.
Did he do this?
Yeah, Hacker did it.
Okay, we want to talk to Hackbert anyway. Can you hide the deck list or just flip the deck list over and we can go from there?
Yeah, so we're gonna get Hackbert back here to just
I'm
get
gonna go find the final.
final match slip.
I want to see if we can get.
What's up, Luca?
People are here. We got the EDH people.
All the EDH people.
Yeah, you part of that group?
No, 'cause I don't.
Is this live?
This live?
I want to
you
see if
join
we
our
can
group.
I want to try and get Michael Day on here. I want to see
It's
that.
AZ
blue list.
EDH.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that they started the EDH, and I think over 150 people already in the EDH
We got like
group.
almost 300. And we're doing a free tournament today.
Here at ADG.
ADG.
What time the tournament start?
1 o'clock, a little late.
You get up here. It won't. 1 o'clock is more like 1:10. So if you're in the area, just do what I do. Just call and say I'm 5 minutes away. You're like 10 or 15 minutes away. They'll still let you play.
Make everybody wait for you.
That's all right. Be that guy if you really want to play some EDH
Fair
today.
We've got like, I think 25 people signed up. For EDH? Come on, that's crazy.
That is pretty
More
good.
legacy.
So we'll see. Well, let me.
We're going to get Hackford over
Yeah,
here.
so let's see. I'm looking at. We think we got our match results in. So yeah, Tony beat Gary. Dan beat David. So that has to feel good for Dan Ford to be able to beat Storm, and which means he had to steal. Maybe he stole game one, but again, he's got some more tools. Tom Kaufman still playing Justice, so we need to find out that McCoy beat Matt. Tash beat Espy, and Jesse lost to Jim Dudek. I'm really curious though to see Jesse's deck. And then Brian Kinsman, we saw that earlier. It was never a game against Gray. And then Michael Day against Allen. I think we're still waiting on that match result too. So we've got a couple match results still coming back. This first round went by pretty quick, so we'll get those other two results in. Oh, so there's Hackberg. So we're really curious and wanted to get your perspective. So game 3, it looked like in your opener, in your 7 or your mull, you had a Caracas but shipped it back. So what was your rationale there, and what were you looking for?
So I'm on the draw.
Yeah.
So just raw Caracas might not be good enough. So same reason why I didn't keep the hand with the bog.
Yeah.
In my first opener had bog, the second mull or the first mull had the Caracas. And I think that it's more important on the draw to try to find that ley line.
Yeah.
But once we get low, it's like, do I want to go to 3 when I don't find it in my 4?
Yeah.
It's real close.
Okay.
We only saw the third game of your match. The second game, were you able to find a ley line or?
So second game, my opponent kept a turn one hand, except he had no answer to a ley line, and I did have the ley line, and it just turned into Reclamation Sage, Dryad Arbor, and then I was able to Green Sun from a Sylvan library. I was able to find Green Sun Zenith and get a Scavenging Ooze, and then just mediocre beats until he died.
Well, I'm glad we got to see at least one of your games. Hope we can get you on here again. Your Nick Fit list looks pretty sweet.
I aim to please.
Let's see. I think we're gonna just cut it here for the first round. We'll come back with round 2. We'll try and get some more spicy matches for you. We have plenty of good legacy for you today, so just stay tuned.
Ask him if you got any. Alright, I'll be back.
Yeah. You get ready to get round 2 started.
Okay, we're gonna start round 2 in a second. So.
All right. I'll be back. I got to take off.
He's over there. He's got it.
He's doing it right now.